Well, today I'm joined by one of my younger viewers here in the state of Utah by the name of Nate. What are we doing today, Nate?
Well, we're comparing a Colt, an original Colt 1849 pocket to a 1849 by Uberti.
All right, let's get to it. I'm Dustin, and you're watching Guns of the West. Here is a close-up look at the original Colt 1849 pocket model, this particular one being made in 1858. And what is it you've got there, Nate?
This is my Uberti 1849, also pocket, and it's supposed to be a identical copy to the Colts, but we're gonna see how many differences and similarities there are between the two.
Yeah, at first glance, I think it's actually a pretty good copy, but I can see a few differences. I think maybe we'll start right at the front. Go ahead and pick yours up, Nate. Let's take a look at the front sight since we're just starting at the front. If you can bring yours back this way just a little bit. Yeah. There's a little bit better front sight on Nate's, on the Uberti. The actual Colt is very, very small, which I think that might be a little more challenging to get lined up in the rear sight on the Hammer. But speaking of, it looks like the rear sights are almost the same, just a little bit bigger cutout on the actual Colt. And you may notice the barrels are not the same length, but that's not necessarily an inaccuracy on Uberti's part because this model did come in several different barrel lengths. So that's just the one that they chose to copy. While we're up at the front, it looks like the loading lever latches are the same, although this one here, give it a little credit as it's old, but it's been a little bit reworked. Other than that, that looks like a pretty good copy. The wedge looks to be the same. Looks to be a good copy. And I'm going to pop the wedge out with a historical tool, iPhone. I believe this particular one was Samuel Colt's iPhone. Go and pop that off. Let's take the cylinders off too. I wanted to take a look at the arbor. Go ahead and bring that one right over here. Yeah, I thought I remembered that. A little bit bigger grooves in the Uberti. These ones are very fine, but they'll both hold grease just fine, I believe. One thing Nate pointed out to me before we started is right here, back here at the recoil shield, there's just a tiny little rise there, much bigger on the Colt. It's just a little bit interesting. And if we pick the barrels up, another thing, one of the first things I wanted to check was the loading ports for if you wanted to use conical bullets or paper cartridges. They both work fine for that, but notice how that one is just sort of a sharp cut, where on the Colt, it's more of a taper down before it goes in. So that's just, I think, cosmetically nice, but I know they both will shoot those bullets just fine. Well, we've got the barrels out. You can see this one is address Samuel Colt, New York City, where Uberti, why don't you go ahead and pull that loading lever down. And then we've just got Uberti's marking down here. You know, it's made in Italy. And I do like that Uberti puts those under the loading lever, while Pieta puts them up on the side. And just kind of an eyesore, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and take a look at cylinders. Now, the engraving on this original is actually in pretty good shape, and definitely in great shape on the Uberti, of course. But one thing we were just looking at off camera, that one, the Uberti does not say Colt's patent on it. And then it makes sense that it wouldn't. But also, this one has the serial number on the cylinder. This one has the serial number on the cylinder. It has it on the wedge. It has it on the barrel. It has it, where else did I see it? On the frame, on the trigger guard. It has it down here on the grip frame, or excuse me, on the back strap piece down on the bottom. So it's serialized all over, where Uberti just has it on, was it just the frame, I believe, and the barrel, right, Nate?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so just two places. Let's see, what else did we want to talk about? Oh, one thing, we won't take these apart, but inside the grip here, of course, is the hammer spring. And on a real Colt, it is much thicker and stiffer. In fact, the owner of this Colt who sent it to me told me that cocking it without being modified is actually fairly painful on your thumb. But he's put a little leather washer in there, as you can see on your screen right now in this photo. And it just makes it a little easier to cock. And historically, I've recently learned that is something that a lot of people did to take some of that pressure off. Where these Uberti springs, they're known to be fairly light. I even have some friends who have added a second spring on Ubertis just to stiffen them up and help prevent cap jams. Well, Nate, what other differences did you notice between these two that I might be leaving out?
Let's see. A quick check. The knurling on the hammer looks to be the same.
Yeah, that looks like a pretty good match.
All
Well, I
right.
guess we should point out, these replicas, they come in brass like this,
Oh, yeah.
but the brass on the Colts were very often plated with silver, which you can just see traces of left on this gun.
The grip on the Uberti looks to be a bit thicker.
Oh, you're right. I didn't even notice that. Good eye.
Yeah. Probably about the same size.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good, as far as size goes, I think Uberti did a pretty good job on copying that. One thing I should mention, too, that I almost forgot, these little pins right here on this Colt, those actually will come right out, which worries me when I go to clean this gun. I don't want to lose them. I think they're just fixed on the Ubertis, at least they are on mine and my Pietas as well. But, yeah, removable on a Colt. Did anything else catch your eye, Nate?
Well, actually, I noticed that on the Uberti there is a little bit of grip, so when you pull it down, but on the Colt it's just straight.
You're right, that is a little more streamlined on the Colt, which is nice cosmetically, but I think the Uberti is a little nicer to actually get a good hold of.
And when I was out there shooting it, I noticed that it can kind of be a little hard to pull it down.
Yeah, on the Colt there, I know it's pretty easy, and I don't know if it was always easy or maybe it's also just worn over time, but in a good way. And another thing, before I forget too, on the muzzles of the barrel, this will be really tough to see on camera, but on the Uberti, it's nice and beveled off. It's got a really nice crown. That Colt, I mean, that almost looks like it was just sawed off with a saw. It's not really rounded off in there at all, but the rifling looks pretty close to the same. Well, just a little bit different in the lands and grooves, but not substantial. I wonder if I can give you viewers a decent look down the bores. I'll put a picture on the screen too. But yeah, there you go, down the Uberti. Oh, one other thing worth mentioning that just caught my eye. Let's pull the plungers out here. I've talked about this in previous videos when I've compared Ubertis to Pietas. Uberti does a good job of making a nice deep recess in the plunger for conical bullets, where Pieta only really is meant to use a round ball. Here's what an actual Colt looks like, and it is a nice deep recess as well. So kudos to Uberti for getting that right. Anything else, Nate, that you noticed?
Not a whole lot, no.
I guess a little bit more rounded off edges on the Colt chambers.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because it was not rounded at the muzzle, but it is. And I wonder, too, if that's just wear.
Yeah, there's a bit of
from
pitting,
loading.
So.
Yeah, it could have been more flush like yours when it was first made.
Yeah.
Well, overall...
actually,
go ahead.
One more. The screw here on the loading lever kind of sticks up a bit, but
You're right.
This one is flush.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, another good observation. Well, overall, I would have to say Uberti did a pretty good job of copying it in a way that's affordable because it's an Italian replica. And the nice thing is, if you can't get your hands on an original like this, I know, Nate, you know as well as I do, you still get a nice, fun feel of history even just shooting the Italian reproductions. So I would say kudos to Uberti. Definitely something special about an original, but reproductions, if that's what you can get your hand on, go out and get one. They are just great.
Yep.
Well, we really hope you enjoyed this look today at these two beautiful revolvers. If you look down in the description, you'll see where to find me on social media.
And don't forget to subscribe and like the video and comment down below.
Thank you so much for watching.